Hey everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. In today's episode, we're going to be studying a piece by the career 3D artist known as Nagafujiriku, and in this episode, we're going to be looking on a bright and lively, even positive take on the cyberpunk subgenre. We're also going to explore the celebratory moments of fire and fanfare, so let's jump right into it. So at first sight, remember this massive urban landscape flying far above common ground. Sites such as this are reserved for only the most advanced of civilizations. Of course, the placement and center draws our eye within this work. We see this further reinforced by that nighttime setting, so any presence of light is going to draw our eye and of course elevate the impact of it within the canvas before us. And the colors within this composition of course consist of a diverse range of tones, but even then we have this deep blue as that backing there, right? That night sky. Even within this we see, green, red, gold, so many different colors present within this composition. And this is pretty interesting, right? You have those fireworks, whose orange is there, but even draws our eye, and this red specifically catches my eye. Of course, it's a high attention color and one of the more rare colors within the composition at hand. You may also notice, we see these kind of rockets which are aiding in the elevation and ascension of this massive cityscape. This, of course, gives a slight sense of motion and does an amazing job of further reinforcing this sense of realism and, of course, immersion within this stunning render. And I want to ask y'all, what first came to mind when you saw this piece? Of course, our perspective here is quite interesting to consider. Even though this massive urban landscape is flying far above the ground, we are even above that as well. I think that's pretty interesting. We are looking down upon that, so even we are higher than this as well. And the use of an urban landscape is a pretty interesting choice to consider, right? To make something such as this, like I said, requires extremely advanced technology for only the most advanced of civilizations. Even then, of course, it feels a little isolated, right? It exists within a world of its absolute own, and because it's in its own world, a lot of people would want to live here, right? Just imagine just how expensive it would be to live in an environment such as this. But even then, we see this celebration, right? We see this most evidently with those fireworks. They're just absolutely stunning. They give a sense of motion, energy, and of course celebratory fanfare to the work at hand. And just imagine what it'd be like to live in a space such as this. Of course, you would be far above common ground, like I said, just in your own absolute world, and perhaps you feel a pure sense of bliss. Perhaps this is a casino or a party life. It's hard to say exactly what we're looking at, but regardless, this is a very prestigious place reserved for only the most advanced of cultures. And when we think of the cyberpunk subgenre, we typically think of a repressive dystopia, right? Very dark and grimy, but this is kind of a rejection of that. It is pure and blissful, it is celebratory, it is even positive as well. So I find that pretty interesting how we see a unique and bright, lively, even positive take on the traditionally oppressive subgenre of the cyberpunk aesthetic. And of course, when we talk about the cyberpunk aesthetic, we typically associate it with, the very dark renders such as this. This is another work created by Nagafujiriku, one of the early ones that I studied in the Apollo Art Archive all the way back in 2021. But of course, you see the cyberpunk aesthetic, that extremely advanced technology, the very dark and repressive, even that grit and grime of the cyberpunk subgenre that we typically associate with it. But that is in direct contrast to the piece before us here. It is bright, lively, positive, and of course so different from the work by Nagafujiriku as well. So I just want to bring that in real quick, talk a little bit about the extreme contrast between the bright and lively cyberpunk and the, much more traditional, oppressive, repressive, and dark cyberpunk aesthetic. But at the end of the day, I wanted to ask y'all, would you want to live in a place such as this? Or, what do y'all think of the work before us here? At the end of the day, like I said, this is incredibly realistic. That is due to the digital render medium of expression which exists within. And the program used here is going to be Cinema 4D. I know a lot of professionals who are using this program, everyone from Beeple to Nagafujiriku, who created this work, all the way to Future Self, Stuzor, so many different professional artists who are using Cinema 4D. So at the end of the day, if you're working in Blender, you want to give a different program a try, certainly check out Cinema 4D. I'd say it's the second most popular. Of course, it's not open source like Blender, but at the end of the day, people use Cinema 4D for a reason, right? But yeah, that's all I have for today. I really hope y'all enjoyed. We talked about so many different things, from the traditionally, oppressive or dark cyberpunk aesthetic, but in this, it is celebratory and lively. We talked about the advanced civilization and the extremely advanced technology used in the work before us here, even it flying far above common ground, they're all very important when we're talking about this work. So, like I said, if y'all enjoyed, go check out the original artist Nagafujiriku doing some amazing stuff in the world of the 3D render. Of course, Cinema 4D is a program that they create within, but they create a lot of different cyberpunk pieces everywhere from the dark and dystopian all the way to the extremely bright and lively ones before us here. So, like I said, if y'all enjoyed, go check out the original artist Nagafujiriku. My name's Apollo, this was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.